Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see. Um, is it Sheila Dewey? Thank you so much for being here first. Okay. Um, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it is on, and you can hear me. Um, well, let me see. What do I need to do here? Okay, I think it's okay. Ah, there we go. Oh, no, not that. There we go. That's what I meant to do. Okay. We're good. Except for one thing. Um well, okay, I guess that's not important. Sorry about that. So, what do y'all want to talk about? I'm just kidding. Hey, Mary H, Vanessa Jones, Gwendolyn Daniels. Okay. Who else is here? Connie Baumer. Ania 13 Paul. Hazel Jones. Hard times for the Left Behind Royals, isn't it? They're like the back end of a horse costume. Always got their heads up somebody else's behind. Well, anyway, um, let's talk about Meghan first, shall we? It is Black History Month, and I was hoping that I would do more coverage than what I have, but then again, every year I'm always saying the same thing. I'm going to highlight blah 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 blah. But yeah, I mean we do. But don't we celebrate Black History Month all month long? I mean all year long. As a matter of fact, I think they should change the name of it to Black Heritage. Celebrate Black Heritage instead of just celebrating Black history. It almost sounds like we're not here anymore. And of course, we are here. So um, I think that name ought to be changed to Black Heritage. We should celebrate Black Heritage Month. But anyway, I don't want to get into the fuss of it all. And you know what? I didn't. It. I guess they say that the Winter Olympic Games are taking place. I I don't know. It just doesn't seem like there's an Olympics taking place. There's not much. Well, I guess you know what? With the Super Bowl, I'm sure that overshadows the Olympics for us here in the U.S. So, okay, let me go here. But I'll share this bit of history with you. What was that? 60 years ago? Is that already 60 years? In 1966, James Brown made history as the first Black American to own a private jet. That's right. The godfather of soul was the first Black American to own a private jet. Um, I really don't think James Brown gets the due that he deserves, but he deserves his due. He deserves to be in the spotlight, even though he passed away some time ago. I mean, it's just so much that you can measure as an impact on American music, thanks to the Godfather of Soul. James Brown purchased his private jet, a Learjet 23, in 1966. By making this purchase, he became the first Black American to own a private jet. The aircraft cost oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm looking at a different screen. There you go. The aircraft cost approximately $713,000. Now, if you adjust for inflation, he paid $7,265,739 for that plane. Okay, just over $7 million is what he paid for it if you adjust for inflation at the time, which allowed him to revolutionize his touring schedule by performing in multiple cities on the same day. Okay. So that was quite a feat. No wonder he made so much money. And guess who was paying attention to all that money he made? Uncle Sam. That's right. The Internal Revenue Service, they were paying attention to every dollar. But that's another story. Anyway, congratulations, cheers, and well done, you. All right. James Brown, the first Black American to own a private jet. I was trying to get some statistics to see how many African Americans own private jets today, and there really is no statistics. But I did find out that there are over 15,000 Americans that own private jets. That's a lot of jets. 15,000 in a population of what, 350 million? Go figure. So there's a little bit of history for you. Let's keep this moving. Meghan with Jackie Aina at the 15% Pledge Gala in Los Angeles. I didn't know much about her, but apparently she is a beauty influencer. And look at that gown. Look at that gown. We only got a little glimpse of the gown, but in watching some of the content creators who speak only about fashion, I was able to see more of it, and I like what I saw. Check it out. I forget the name of the designer, but it's a designer from Africa. Yeah. But yeah, beautiful gown. I like the way they do the little you know, structure around the hips. It almost gives you a sense of the old what do you call it? Like the that French Empire style. Well, no, not the Empire. Well, anyway, like Louis the something teenth. Yeah, kind of reminds you of that Marie Antoinette um wealthy aristocrat kind of thing. Remember when they used to have those big hoop skirt, not hoop skirts, but they would like really broaden the hips of the gown just to show off more of the beautiful fabric. You'd almost have to turn sideways to enter a room, that kind of thing. God, why did they ever do that? But not nearly as outrageous as that, but beautiful. Very beautiful. And the back part there with the lace, love that. Beautiful gown. And gold and blue, they always go together. You got that gold thread on that velvet blue background. It is luscious. And then here you can see the Zelda Win. Zelda Win. Apparently, this gown was inspired by a couturier or couturier. Am I saying that right? Anyway, um, at the 15% fundraising gala, Duchess of Sussex turns heads, and she turned the cultural dial, dressed in a strapless gown with a draping, trailing, lush velvet coat. Okay, it says she channeled the kind of old Hollywood glamour that once belonged to the likes of Marilyn Monroe and Lauren Bacall and Liz Taylor and Vivian Leigh. But this time, the woman in the spotlight is black. And that, friends, matter. Hollywood has always been a paradox. It sowed dreams of sophistication and allure, with Monroe's breathy charm and Bacall's smoky voice, Taylor's diamonds, and Lee's tragic elegance, while being more progressive than the rest of the country at the time. The industry nudged forward on race when the wider nation was still digging in its heels. Films like Stormy Weather from 1943, starring Lena Horne, and all the black cast showcased black talent in a way mainstream America rarely allowed. Cabin in the Sky, which came out in 1943, directed by Vincent Minnelli. Oh, Liza's father, also featured an all-black cast and gave audiences a glimpse of black life beyond the stereotypes. Even Intruder in the Dust from 1949, based on William Faulkner's novel, tackled racial injustice in the Deep South, daring to show a black man wrongly accused of murder and ultimately vindicated. These films are still shaped by white studios and often in scoop, but compared to the country's segregationist reality, they were radical gestures. The NAACP even brokered agreements with Hollywood studios in the 1940s to reduce reliance on racial caricatures and open up opportunities for black actors beyond the scene. But just as Hollywood flirted with progress, it slammed the door shut. The promise of Stormy Weather and Cabin in the Sky wasn't followed by waves of roles for black women. Instead, the industry retreated, returning to its comfort zone of white stars and sidelining black talents. Okay, let me go back here. Uh-oh, I think I skipped part of it. Hold on a second. Anyway, that is a take on it. Let me see here. Nope, not that. And okay. So Meghan's gala gown was a cultural statement. It was also a fashion history lesson. Charles Harbison revealed that at Meghan's request, this is very important. Charles Harbison revealed at Meghan's request, the look was inspired by Zelda Wynne Valdez, the designer whose name I'm just learning deserves to be spoken alongside Dior and Balenciaga. So, of course, Valdez was an African American designer. She came from a middle class family in Schaumburg, Schaumburgsburg, Pennsylvania, the eldest of seven children, and grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her first training was actually in classical piano and Catholic conservatory music. She found her way into design through her uncle's tailoring shop in White Plains, New York, and later worked as a stock girl at a high end boutique. There, she became the shop's first black sales clerk and tailor, a breakthrough in itself given the racial barriers at the time. And then in 1948, Zelda opened on Broadway. It was called Shea Zelda on Broadway. This was historic. She was the first black designer to own a shop on Broadway. We're talking about in New York, of course. Her boutique became a magnet for stars like Dorothy Dandridge, wore her gowns with all kinds of poise that made Hollywood nervous. Josephine Baker brought her designs to Paris Cabaret. Ella Fitzgerald shimmered in her creations. Valdez gowns were architectural yet sensual, cut to celebrate curves rather than disguise them. She was also commissioned to design the original Playboy bunny costume in the 1960s, a cheeky corset silhouette that became a global symbol of glamour. Her reputation for impeccable craftsmanship and daring cuts attracted white socialites and celebrities too, proving that her aesthetics transcended racial boundaries. Even in the era of segregation, she moved in circles that blended entertainment, fashion, high society, dressing women who wanted to be seen as glamorous, powerful, and unforgettable. Later, she became the head costume designer for the Dance Theater of Harlem, bringing her influence into a world of ballet and modern dance while giving back to the Black community. She also had become president of the New York chapter of the NAFAD, the National Association of Fashion and Accessory Designers, an organization of Black designers. See, Meghan knew exactly what she was doing when she was trying to prepare herself for that night. It says here Black glamour has always existed, even when society tried to shut the door. A Black Hollywood glamour has always been a story of invention against the odds. Josephine Baker, though she found her fame in Paris, was a style revolutionary. She sequined costumes and slicked back hair influenced European couture houses. Dorothy Dandridge, often styled in Valdez gowns, brought a new kind of elegance to the screen in Carmen Jones. Even as Hollywood refused to give her the career she deserved, Lena Horne, with her velvet gowns and perfectly coiffed hair, became a fashion icon despite being cut from films when they were shown in the segregated South. These women were arbiters of glamour, shaping the aesthetics of an era while being denied full access. So I'm going to do this. It's actually a two-parter. I don't know if you noticed, but I read the second part first. I am going to put the link here for this great article. Uh-oh, what happened? That didn't work. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. StreamYard has lost access. I think you guys can hear me just fine, but I knew I wasn't connected. Hold on a second. Let me do something here. It's kind of confusing to explain, but oh, um, let me get rid of that. All right. I hope that works. All right. So I think you can hear me. Oh boy. Okay. Um oh goodness. Oh man. This is all right. Let me get rid of that one. All right. Okay, sorry about that. You know what? You can hear me, but I was disconnected from StreamYard. Well, no, StreamYard was anyway, it's too hard to explain. But like the count that tells me how many people are in the chat, it was still at zero. So I should have known something was wrong. Anyway, I know you could probably have heard everything I said, but it was not completely connected. It does that sometimes. So I'm going to put this back up and I hope that's good. All right. I think we're okay now. But yeah, my StreamYard was not quite connected. When I tried to post this link, it didn't go through. It said I wasn't connected. So this link is for the article that I just shared with you. I'm going to pin that to the top of the chat. It's a two-part. And this is from JP Konobo. Yes, a two-part. Read it when you get a chance to. Make sure you read it. That's the link for it up there at the top. Much like Feminagra, this writer has written some really great articles. They have been very Sussex friendly, I might add. So that's why I pay attention to them. Or as the young people say, that's why I F with them. Oh, anyway, so that's the link for the article. So sorry about that. I was not quite connected like I needed to be, but I think it's okay now. Yes, 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 is fine. Okay, sorry about the disruption there. Church Nelly, somebody's taking a pee break. Thanks for joining us. Speaking of which, you guys, I was so tired. I did something I never done. Well, I rarely do. I shouldn't say never, but rarely. I think I slept for about 10 and a half hours. Now, being a baby boomer, I usually sleep 6 hours. I slept 10 and a half hours. I woke up, I didn't know where the heck I was. That's how deep of a sleep I was in. I laid in one position for so long, my back was hurting when I woke up. So that is very rare for me. But I guess I needed the rest. So um, yeah, I did sleep the better part of the day. All right. So to continue, I will go back to where I was here. And we were talking about Valdez's Broadway Street, Broadway Street shop. Anyway, Zelda Valdez, I'm sorry, Zelda Wynn Valdez. Is that right? Yeah. Anyway, she owned that shop on Broadway, and I believe she was the first um, African American to open a shop in that part of town. So that was also history. Designing the original Playboy bunny outfit. And if I'm correct, let me see who else used to get. I wonder if she did anything for Mae West. Mae West did use a black designer, and I do believe it was her. Of course, if you haven't figured it out by now, Mae West's entire persona, her characterization that she created for herself, was really based on black women from the Harlem Renaissance, black entertainers. She would go and watch the black entertainers, and then she would take a lot of that humor to her own show. Not to take anything away from the talents of Mae West, because I mean, she wrote music, she wrote screenplays, she wrote plays and musicals and such. So, very talented lady. I don't want to take any of that from her, but a great deal of her characterizations were based on black women that would go and see in Harlem. So, there you have it. Yes, get ready for it because it's coming. It is so coming. Meghan Sussex and the Glamour of Belonging. So that's the name of the article. JP Canobo. Canoba? Canobo. 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 I think it's Canobo. Anyway, that's the name of the article. The link is at the top of the chat. Remember, it's a two-part article and a lot of great stuff there. I think I may have shared about half of each page. And Amelia Noaz is an artist. And every time something comes up with the Sussexes, she always blesses us with another one of her artworks. And here's another one on the left side, based, of course, on that gown. Let's see. I love a good moment illustration of Meghan at the 2026 15% Pledge Gala. So if you haven't seen her artwork, you can go to her website. She's on Instagram. Yeah, you can go to Instagram and find her. And most everything that she creates, you can actually order original copies from her. And you could also order things like accessories, coffee cups, or whatever. She has like a whole accessory thing for her artwork. So um, I always enjoy looking at the stuff she makes. And the background for this photo, that is actually wallpaper. Not that she asked me to do it, but I made a wallpaper out of her artwork, just for my own use, of course. Well, it looks like someone sent me a Cash App. Oh, thank you very much for that. Thanks for your podcast. Yes, you're quite welcome. And thank you for the PayPal. Greatly appreciate it. Okay. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, pictured with professional tennis player Sloane Stephens at the 2026 15% Pledge fundraiser gala. Grateful for spaces that celebrate excellence, community, and meaningful progress. Me too. I'm grateful for all of that too. But yeah, so that is Meghan with Sloane Stephens, which I'm embarrassed. I don't know her, but she's a tennis player, huh? Good for her. And I like what she's wearing. Anyway, a lot of beautiful ladies at this event. Everybody looked so glamorous. And here's another new person for me to learn about. Thank you, Eric Archibald, for that mega Meghan moment, for that mega Meghan moment. Um, Archibald was the stylist for Meghan for this event. So look for him to work with Meghan in the future. And if you take a look on the left side there, there's a bunch of online magazines like, what is it? E News, Hello, Vogue Germany, and whatever that is up there. Glamour Germany. Well, anyway, international headlines. Meghan's appearance in that gown stirred so much imagination across the world. Like she captured the imagination of some of everybody. Pretty much just owned the internet, just broke the internet herself. I've been calling it the Beyonce's internet, but pretty soon I think I'm just going to have to switch that up and call it Meghan's internet, seeing that she's the woman who gets the most traffic across the globe. So, Eric Archibald, stylist, look him up where you get a chance to. Celebrity stylist, creative director, costume designer, and so on and so on. So, definitely someone to get to know. And you can follow him on Instagram. And these are photos that he posted. He posted this one on his Instagram, and he also posted that one on his Instagram. And I love the way so many people are using Meghan's title, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. The reason why I love that is because I know it gets on the deranger's last nerves. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. I'm living for it. I'm here for it. Oh, Church Nelly just posted the official Royal Sussex Amazon wish list. A list full of things that I have been wishing for at very reasonable prices for anyone who wants to give the gift of a wish to Royal Sussex from the official Royal Sussex wish list. Thank you, Church Nelly. You're so thoughtful. And check it out. This is, let's see, a view of the room. I believe this was on their website. And, well, of course, they wanted to include Meghan. So if you can't tell, you can just see her on the left side there smiling. Yes, the toast of the town, smiling. Still loving that gown, still loving that moment. The earrings are black onyx, of course, and diamonds. They're vintage earrings from the 1970s. I did learn a little bit more about them. They are vintage earrings and the ring from the 1970s. And it says here, Meghan Markle's old Hollywood moment in Harbison Studio The Duchess of Sussex, I love when they do that. The Duchess of Sussex attended the 15th, blah, 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 honoring Tina Knowles. Okay. Oh, I can get rid of that and that. I'll keep that. I'll put that there. And of course, this is from Women's Wear Daily. Andre Leon Talley used to work at Women's Wear Daily. And if you have never heard of them, which I'm sure you have, that is one of those premier women's fashion magazines. And they've been around forever. Oh, the other thing, you know what? Now I remember why. I was just like, why did I share this? I don't have the link because I think I got rid of the article from here. I don't have the link, but if you want to see like all of the best outfits for the night, go to that article. And you see at the bottom of Meghan's picture right there where it says view all. I think they must have at least 50 images there, and you can just go through them one after the other. And I'm pretty sure if you do that, you won't miss a thing. There were even people there that I didn't even know they were there. That's how complete the list is. So that's why I'm sharing that with you. I just I wanted to share the link, but heck, I think I closed out that one and forgot how much I needed it. So yeah, but you can find it on your own. So go to Meghan Markle's Old Hollywood Moment in Harbison Studio, and you will find that article. And as I said, it's got the best of everything there. You won't miss a thing. Because, like, if you look at People Magazine, you're only going to see so many outfits. But Women's Wear Daily gives you like a complete list of everything that was worn that night. So there you go. Sorry I didn't get the link for you. Oh, and then there's this. That is kind of small, but I am going to do this here. I think I made it bigger here for myself. No, I don't need that. Oh, okay. Here goes. So, you have heard that on Reddit, there are groups. Some of these groups are men married to women that have been so hateful to the Duchess of Sussex, almost without any type of discipline. It's like they just cannot help themselves every day, rain or shine. Every time something comes out, and of course, the algorithm is going to take them to Meghan because they're always looking at Meghan, but they're not looking at Meghan as we do with affection. For them, it's all about hate. So this time, this article, well, it's not an article, but it is something from Reddit that someone wrote who has been one of those people who just cannot help themselves. They have got to wake up and figure out, what is Meghan doing today? How is she destroying the monarchy? So it says, I am part of the Meghan Markle hating cult, and I am ashamed. I'm writing this because I finally hit a wall with myself. Yesterday, Meghan appeared at an event. She looked beautiful, healthy, glowing, confident. And without even thinking, my brain immediately went into search mode. What's wrong with her? What can I criticize? What did she do wrong this time? That's when it hit me. This wasn't curiosity. This wasn't critical thinking. This was compulsion. Dehumanizing Meghan had become a drug every morning before work, before emails, before real responsibilities. I opened my phone and scrolled through accounts dedicated to tearing apart Meghan. I knew exactly where to go. The same profiles, the same narratives, the same recycled outrage. And I'd feel satisfied, energized, validated. Last year, I found myself aggressively hounding a charity organization. A charity, not because they did anything wrong, but because I didn't like the couple associated with it. I was restless, obsessive, watching every post, reading every comment, encouraging suspicion, incentivizing outrage, feeding a machine that thrives on anger, paranoia, and dehumanization. I wasn't just consuming hate, I was helping it grow. And with it came something darker: constant agitation, emotional dysregulation, and an obsession that was quietly hijacking my mental health. Here's the part that hurts the most to admit. I'm well educated. I have a master's degree. I consider myself analytical, socially aware, capable of nuance, and yet my productivity suffered. My focus eroded. My emotional bandwidth was drained by a woman I have never met. I lost hours, days, mental energy. Not because Meghan had power over me, but because I gave it away. I told myself I was just being observant, critical, holding her accountable. In reality, I was spiraling into fixation. Looking back, I can see it clearly now. I had internalized bias. I thought I was above them, but being part of this hate ecosystem didn't challenge those biases, it amplified them. I pushed conspiracy theories. I entertained cruel narratives about her character, her intentions, even her children. And why? Because deep down, I couldn't understand why she didn't just fall in line, why she didn't behave better, why she didn't know her place. Sitting with that realization makes me physically uncomfortable. It should. I'm ashamed of myself. What finally broke me was watching the reaction to the Girl Scouts documentary. Accounts I followed, accounts I trusted, were proudly dehumanizing children. Children, mocking them, questioning their legitimacy, stripping them of basic humanity for clicks, clout, and ideological purity. I felt nauseous. I remember thinking, what have I become? A junkie who gets a dopamine hit from hating another woman, from participating in mass cruelty disguised as commentary. That's not who I want to be. That's not a life I'm willing to live. So I'm done. Now that is powerful, ain't it? That is powerful. Self realization. That's exactly what that was. This person realized that they had turned into a monster full of hate and vitriol, spewing out bile on a daily basis, not just reading this stuff, not just listening to it, but exchanging the same ideas back and forth with people. So that is oh, you know what? You know what? You're absolutely right. That person has seen the light and they deserve applause for that. Let's see. Hating Girl Scouts, dehumanizing kids. Unbelievable. Yeah, I when it gets to the kids, that's when it's gone too far. And every time Meghan posts anything related to children, not just her own children, but any children, if they go someplace, there's a good chance that someone is going to say, "Where are the children?" If Harry and Meghan travel somewhere, people are asking about the children. That seems so odd to me. A fixation on someone else's child for what? So that they can prove they don't exist, so that they can prove that they're rented or surrogates or all of the crazy stuff you hear. I mean, we've been hearing things like, oh, MI6 or whatever it is, they have been tracking um, that member of the royal family that's been accused of all that stuff, that they shared that information with the Queen. Do you think that Harry and Meghan could pull off some kind of uh, scheme of a surrogacy or something like that without people knowing it? I mean, they're smart people, but no. And people are still beating that drum and they won't let it go. Yeah, the kids should be off limits. All of the kids should be off limits. The Will and Kate's kids, all of the kids should be off limit. Let's see. I had a troll making a nasty comment under my comment of mine. Out of curiosity, I looked at this person's profile. They're a director of cancer and lupus organization. This hate is turning them into monsters. Yeah, it really is. It really is. And going, let's see, Harry and Meghan have, they're going on what, 8 years since they first met? No, 10 years, 10 years since they first met. So it's 10 years, almost 10 years since they first met. And what, 8 years of marriage? All of that time. And they still think that these trolls, not trolls, but these content creator trolls, are going to find some information, that they're going to figure out something that nobody else has, that they're finally going to expose Harry and Meghan. So, with all of the resources that the royal family have, with all of the resources that the tabloids have, and they have not been able to establish anything in particular that proves that there's some fraudulent act taking place or that Meghan's not who she says she is. Even people that say Meghan's actually 55 years old, she's older than that. She's lying about her age. And you mean to tell me that her sister or even her father has not exposed that yet? I mean, it just goes from bad to worse with those people. Anyway, I'm glad that person has seen the light, and I hope more people will in the future. Fashionista, starring the big three: Meghan Markle, Alondra Carthen, and Tina Knowles. Well, okay, so they were the big three that night. I think that depends on who you ask, but okay, fine. Because big three in terms of prestige, big three in terms, I didn't look at the article, by the way. Big three in terms of their popularity. I don't know what big three, but I think it would be kind of hard to just pick three because there were some incredible people in that room that night. And of course, they didn't even mention Emma Greedy. So, I mean, how do you pick three? I think the whole room was incredible. Okay. So, we're going to move on to the Left Behind Royals. So, right here, why Epstein debacle has now hit Evasive Kate and William by Robert Where's My CPAP Jobson. The palace is being accused of a cover up. I've been backstage on royal affairs for 35 years and I've never seen it worse. So, yes, Robert Jobson, who pretty much has eaten at every royal table in exchange for great coverage, I'm sure. That's so tacky. I shouldn't say that. But it's true. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I've never seen it this worse. Okay, it is pretty bad. It is pretty bad. How bad is it? I thought Where's Kate Middleton was pretty bad because the royal family was the butt of a joke. I also thought Endgame was a bad time for them because their polling numbers took a nosedive. Also, Queen Elizabeth's reaction to Princess Diana's untimely, mysterious, unresolved death in that Paris tunnel, that was pretty bad. I mean, they've had many of those horrible times. This is not going to end the monarchy, no matter what they say. However, it is eye-opening for a lot of people who do not pay attention to the monarchy, and all of a sudden, those people are hearing the worst. They don't have the sweet old lady, the grandma of Europe, to fall back on. At this point, they have this grumpy old man. They have Camilla, the queen consort, that looks like a human scarecrow and also is responsible for, well, partially responsible for driving Diana out of the country. And then, of course, you have William and his scowl. All of this fuss about how people are hoping William will be king soon and all that kind of stuff, and that he's the most popular royal. that's only because people don't know him. And at some point, they will get to know him. When they learned about William from Spare, what happened? His poll numbers dropped. Same with Kate. When they learned about Kate, her polling numbers dropped. Now, I think it's ridiculous to depend on these polls, but as it is, their popularity went into a nosedive. The only thing that helps is that the tabloid media will spend months and months and months building them back up again and saying enough negative things about other people until you almost forget the thing that people had, you know, learned about them. So that helps them, their case. But this time, if we find out that not only Charles but William were part of some cover up, because remember, it wasn't that long ago that they were saying that William helped drive his uncle out of Royal Lodge, that everything that Charles had did to so-called punish Andrew, William was really the brains behind it. So if you want to get credit for that, then that means that you are part of the cover up. As far as I'm concerned, that means you're part of the cover up. Because if you are the future king, you would have the same access to intelligence about Andrew that your father has, because you're the king in waiting. Remember, he's getting his own red box now. And what's in the red box? The same stuff that Charles has. Just like Charles got the same stuff that the Queen had. So you are part of the problem. And I can't wait for them to start um, drawing those conclusions. It won't be the tabloids, of course. That's going to happen outside of the tabloid bubble. So, is it as the worst that he's seen in 35 years? I don't know. I don't know. I think that's saying a lot. I mean, the Prince of Wales divorcing his wife, that was pretty bad. It's just this is so international. So, and this involves what it involves. So I guess that does kind of make it bad. Bad in a different way. But they've had tough times before. And I don't believe that this is going to end the monarchy. Then the Invictus games will be and Charles will need to be involved to help his reputation. You know, I was wondering, and I think I know what you're saying. I was wondering myself if they were going to try to use their access to Harry as a diversion, as a way to divert all of this attention away from Andrew and have people focus on Charles rekindling his relationship with his son. And even worse, does this mean that William might even try and get in Harry's good graces? That's what I was thinking, is that they would try to use the event as a chance to show their softer side by cozying up to Prince Harry. Because that's really the only card they have to play. Nothing is going to happen in that family in the next 10 years, at least 10 years. The next big event that people will celebrate will be the marriage of George to whoever. That's it. I don't think there's going to be any big fuss about William's coronation. I don't think there's going to be any, you know, big deal about whenever Charles makes his transition. I just don't. Charles is not popular. I mean, it was bad enough when the Queen died. It did not really go the way they wanted it to. When Prince Philip died, they did everything they could to try to drum up all of this sorrow for him. And what happened? People were calling asking why their programs were disrupted. But Charles is not popular like that. Um, and now that this is happening, now that Charles is being associated with the worst of the worst, because that's coming, That's coming, Right now, it's restricted to his brother. But when the world, and I do mean the world, when the world realized some of the friendships and connections that Charles has tolerated in his lifetime with questionable people. Remember when that what was it, that bishop, archbishop or whatever, that was accused of some of this stuff? Remember when Charles wrote a letter to him? The letter did not mention the victims at all. It was a letter that really spoke of Charles's irritation that this archbishop was being, um, you know, called out in the first place. How many times can Charles be on the wrong side of history before people catch on? And the same with William. How many times can William be on the wrong side of history before people catch on? They have been protected by the tabloids who they have made deals with. But just like the Where's Kate Middleton, once it became a real global story, they panicked. They hit the panic button. And then all of a sudden, Kate made an appearance through AI and body doubles. So I don't know um, if it's all that serious, but it is pretty bad because this is very international. It doesn't just limit itself to the impressions of the king's subjects. But this is something that involves a bunch of rich, privileged people. And that's what makes it so different. Not just the privileged royal family, but privileged people all over. Names that are familiar and some names that aren't. Hazel says, Invictus is not going to help them. They'll have to take their licks. uh, okay, so Robert Jolson says, having written about Prince Andrew's saga for years, I can say for certain that the pressure now facing King Charles feels very different. This is no longer a scandal the palace can manage by keeping its distance and maintaining its silence. You better tell them that. I don't think they caught on yet. For them, it's business as usual. Charles is a fool. Charles is a fool. I almost feel sorry for him because he's so stupid. I hate to say that about the man, but he is. He's clueless. There are those who argue that Prince William, as heir to the throne, is at least addressing this huge problem by breaking his silence. He ain't said nothing. And yet, the statement William and Kate have put out feels hollow given the gravity and reach of this scandal that engulfs the mega rich and social and political elite. And that's the point. This involves too many big people, mega rich and the social and political elite. And it all smacks of elitism and privilege. You're so wealthy and so connected, you can even get away with that stuff. Oh, and by the way, Charles did get heckled again today. So I'm going to play a soundbite for you. This guy right here, U.S. Congressman says could be the end of monarchy. Now, of course, he has no way of knowing that, but in his opinion, he is just saying that this is a lot bigger. And because he has had access, I'm assuming, to some of the stuff that we're talking about, the actual files, he might know what he's talking about.
Unity, this club. And by the way, I think this is the most vulnerable the British monarchy has ever been. I mean, I heard they were asking the Queen questions about the Epstein class. They ought to ask the King and Queen questions, and maybe this will be the end of the monarchy. What do you think it could be the end of the monarchy? Well, if they don't have answers, or if they're implicated with an Epstein class, not a good look for the British monarchy. What questions does the King have to answer? Well, the King has to answer what he knew. What he knew about Andrew. And just stripping Andrew of a title is not enough. I mean, Andrew needs to come before our committee and start answering questions. I mean, look, if you have allegations of raping a young girl, I don't think the appropriate punishment is you no longer get to be a prince. There's got to be more than that. Do you think the royal family must have known something they're not telling us? They need to answer, the king and queen. And I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand the British custom, but what's up with this that you're going and someone's asking the queen a question, the queen is offended that she's being asking a question? I mean, come on. She wears the same clothes, she eats the same food, she's just a human being. She needs to answer the same questions anyone does.
Wow. So much for that special relationship, huh? So much for that special relationship. He wants the king and the queen and anybody else to answer some questions. Now, of course, Charles cannot be compelled to testify in front of Congress. But if information comes out, and they say there is information that Charlie Windsor has known about this stuff, that's going to make life very difficult for him in the eyes of the public. That is going to make life very difficult. And then, of course, Charles is supposed to come for a state visit, another state visit. Oh, Hazel Jones, I think he was referring to Camilla when Camilla got heckled the other day. I had to think about that myself. And I do believe he's referring to that day that Camilla had been heckled when they were asking her those questions and she just walked inside of the building. So I'm pretty sure that that's what he was referring to. Congressman Connor was telling the God's truth. Is love. Let me say. Let me say. I love us Americans because we have no filter and tell the truth. Yeah, you got that right. Yes, and the security people must have known. Royal protection is the same as Secret Service. You are an officer sworn to protect. And in that case, you're swearing your oath to the crown or whatever, but you are still paid by the taxpayers, and the taxpayers have a right to the truth. You know, I I I kind of I for the first time I kind of hate the idea that Invictus is going over there. But this might serve to calm things down a bit, where they're going to try to put on their friendly face. They're going to try to seem, you know, kinder, gentler people, especially William, because William is going to do a whole bunch of briefing, have his staff brief a lot of comments about how he feels about Invictus and such. Oh God. All of those little comments that they make all the time about Harry and how he feels this way about Harry and how he doesn't like this, and it's so childish. The people that work for William, honestly, they do him a disservice. They do him a huge disservice. The people are no different. These people are no different than the rest of us. No one cares that he can't use Prince anymore. Andrew behind needs to be in jail. Let me see. Yeah, they are. They are still some of the dumbest people that has ever drawn a breath. The people that work for them are doing them a disservice. They don't have Uncle Dickie to speak sense to them any longer. Um, they don't have anyone that they'll listen to. The only person who is capable of speaking truth to William is Harry. And I suspect the only person who's capable of speaking truth to Charles is Harry. Because Harry's going to tell the truth. Harry doesn't really have a filter when it comes to telling the truth. Harry panics sometimes because of certain questions because he's not a liar. Okay? He's not a liar. They can say whatever they want to about him, but he's not a liar. Um, and he's about the only person that will speak the truth to them. He's the only person that will speak truth to his father and his brother. And I'm sure a lot of people know that, which is why they want so desperately for Harry to come back over there. They need Harry more than he'll ever need them. And that's the truth. Harry just wants to have access to his nation of birth. He wants to be able to bring his kids over there, but I don't believe Harry wants access to being a part of that circus. No way. See, now that the U.S. government and the media is focusing on Andrew, that dang family better call their media dogs off Meghan when she goes to Invictus with Harry. It really will make people beg the question, why are you putting so much heat on Meghan when you got that person in your family? When you're giving him a free pass? It's just like when they were trying to convince people not to ask questions about Kate. And what happened? It backfired because people that casually follow the royal family were asking the question, why should we worry about how Kate feels when you all don't give Meghan a break? You want us to be nice to Kate, but you're crapping all over Meghan. People were asking that question. So much so that even other royal reporters started saying, they do have a point. They do have a point. And so there's Willie. Now, I want you to take a look at William's face. What does his face say to you? I believe he's very proud and full of himself because he gets to be the global statesman, right? The government made the request that William goes over there. Is the government really making this request, or is this his father's way of setting him up? That remains to be seen. Um, we'll find out in a few days. The person that William is standing next to is not such a nice guy. And I've heard everything from William is there for petrodollars to William is there for bags of money, just like his father. Recollections may vary, but William is there. I don't know that this helps his reputation at all. We'll have to figure this out after he gets back home. You know what, Khadijah? Um, I couldn't have put it any better. Yes, Harry tells the truth, and that is the best evidence is how quickly they got him off that witness stand. That is why we know that he's very truthful, and they cannot handle the truth because they quickly got him off of that witness stand. Number one, he makes a compelling witness because people trust and believe him. And number two, it was what he was saying that was going to make things worse for them. No matter how the case ends up, they did not want anything coming out of Harry that would make the international newspapers. So get him off that witness stand. What was supposed to be 2 days on the stand turned into just the afternoon, and they were done with it. They only got to four parts of the, what was it, 15 articles that they were supposed to go over, and they only did four of them, and they were like, you know what, that's it, we're done. We're done and cut, right? Just like a director and cut. Prince William lands in Riyadh for his 3-day trip to Saudi Arabia after he and Kate addressed Epstein's scandal for the first time to say they were deeply concerned over revelations. How many days did it come up? I'm sorry, how many days did it take for them to come up with, we're deeply concerned? How many days has this been brewing? How many days did it take for them to come up with such a dramatic line like, we're deeply concerned? You really ought to be. You should be concerned. You should be alarmed. You should be heartbroken for the victims. It is shallow. As someone said, their response is incredibly shallow and it doesn't really speak to the subject at hand. It really doesn't. Deeply concerned. Are you deeply concerned about your own reputation? Are you deeply concerned about the future of the monarchy? Oh, what is that from 2019, pray tell? Well, to me, it appears that William and Kate are having a good laugh with Uncle Andrew. I wonder if this was before or after the Queen paid out £12 million to someone that her son has never met and for something he didn't do. This photo was taken in 2019, long, long after Andrew's crimes with Epstein were made public. Here are Prince William and Kate Middleton looking deeply concerned. You know what? The Sussex squad, I tell you, all day today, people have been posting pictures of William and Kate with the caption, William and Kate looking deeply concerned. This is this is just one of them. Um, and that's what they're doing. They're looking deeply concerned. See how concerned Kate is with her mouth gapped open like a Pidge dispenser? See how William is smiling and blushing? They're deeply concerned. They're thinking about the victims. Um, they're thinking of all that stuff because they're deeply concerned. They're wondering if there's any money left over after that payment. So rest assured, rest assured they are deeply concerned. That is the look of concern on their faces. Prince William and Kate Middleton finally addressed Epstein's scandal for the first time. Deeply concerned, Prince William and Kate Middleton, their thoughts remain focused on the victims. End of. That's it. Is this supposed to be like, let me think, is this like supposed to be a little bit of a cover in case a reporter asks them a question? Then they can say, well, we said we were deeply concerned. What else do you want us to do? We said we were deeply concerned. I guess that's it. I guess that statement is supposed to give them cover. Let me know how it works out because I don't think we're there yet. I do not think we're there yet, but they seem to think that that gives them all the cover they need because they are deeply concerned. Will and Kate are deeply concerned. Actually, I am deeply concerned. That's all. I'm sure we are all deeply concerned. Oh, well, thank you so much, Maggie. I appreciate it. And thank you for being a member. And Maggie, thank you so much for being deeply concerned. Let me see. Khadijah, what are you deeply concerned about? Baron, every time you mention the Queen pay off the victim, all I hear is my head is her saying, a life of service and duty. I have not done my Queen Elizabeth voice in a long time. 1992 is a year that I shan't look back upon with undiluted pleasure. Oh, let me see. Church Nelly, what are you deeply concerned about? Let me see. Hazel Jones is deeply concerned. Let me see. In 2019, they were giddy about harassing Meghan. Karma came quick. I hope she stays around. Yeah, that's deeply concerning. Yep. Now every time I look at a picture of Will and Kate, I'm going to think to myself, that's Will and Kate being deeply concerned. Oh Lord. See, I think the Kensington Palace, they don't realize that when they say certain things, that it's like a trigger, and that the Sussex squad is going to exploit whatever ridiculous thing they say until we just get tired of laughing at them. They ought to be deeply concerned. Now, I have to play A.N. Wilson again because I love this. Um, okay, sorry about that. Dear God. Oh, you know what? I hate that when you try to open up YouTube that it just plays something right away. I hate that. Oh boy. Let me do this a different way. I wonder if it's any way to stop that from happening. As soon as you open it up, it just starts playing like hell. I bet you if I wanted it to do that, it would not happen.
I used to think the monarchy would go on forever somehow or another, and I no longer do. The great Victorian journalist Walter Bagehot said, "Don't let daylight in on the magic," as far as the monarchy was concerned. Well, once Prince Charles's marriage to Lady Di had split up, and Princess Anne got divorced, and then Prince Andrew came along with this ridiculous wife, Fergie, it was impossible not to let daylight in on the magic, and the magic vanished, I'm afraid. And although the king has done his best in his old age with the coronation ceremony and all that to try and make the monarchy seem magic again, it never will be again. And this story, this Epstein story, and the photo of Prince Andrew kneeling over this unfortunate person lying on the floor somewhere, whether it's in Paris or New York, it doesn't really matter where it is. And now the story today about Fergie going to see Epstein with her daughters, only days after she'd been let out of prison for very serious offences. This taints the royal family. To quote the great Lord Mandelson, it's like dog muck. It's never going to go away, the stench of this.
Should we assume that there is nothing actually, if we, in a historical context, nothing unusual about Andrew's behaviour, nothing unusual about Sarah Ferguson's behaviour in a historical context? The difference is now this stuff leaks. We know about it. We see it.
What I'm saying.
We see him bent.
There isn't a great difference in the way people behave. And certainly when you think, as I say, of George IV or William IV or Charles II with his string of mistresses who ended up as duchesses and things, there isn't a great difference in the way the royal family has behaved. There's a huge difference in the way we, the press, the journalists, and the public want the royal family to be. And we want to have this image. We don't worship politicians. We don't think of them as squeaky clean and pure. But we, think of the outpouring of genuine grief for the Queen because she seemed almost like a saint.
Yeah. But so when there have been troublesome royals in the past, what methods have been used to remove them from public life, short of, the obvious chopping block?
Well, the closest we've had to a chopping block in relatively recent history was the abdication, when Edward VIII was sacked. He could easily have stayed on, and if necessary, married a divorced woman. He could have just said, I'm changing the rules. He's the boss. But
as indeed our current king is.
He changed the rules.
Yeah.
And I think what happened in the case of Edward VIII, everybody knew he was very dodgy on lots of levels. He was probably being blackmailed by the Nazis. He certainly was pro-Nazi. And later, the stuff that's emerged about the kind of remarks he was making to the Germans when the war broke out, saying that, if only they bombed London, they would crush the spirit of the British and they'd assassinate George VI and put Edward VIII. I mean, once that emerged, we realized they were right to sack him in 1936. But the alleged reason for sacking him was that he wanted to marry an American divorcee.
Look, so on Times Radio yesterday, Chris Philp suggested that Andrew should be removed from the line of succession. Is there any historical or legal precedent
I don't think
for doing
there is.
that?
I think it would be extremely difficult to do that.
I mean, presumably, I guess, when Edward abdicated, he was kind of removed from the line of succession.
He
You can
was,
only
yes.
do that once you get to the top.
He was removed, yes.
Yeah.
And also had a miracle occurred and Mrs. Simpson had a baby. That wouldn't have been in line of succession. But I think it would be very difficult. I mean, assuming that nothing happens to the children of Kate Middleton and Prince William, but it is conceivable a bomb to be thrown or something like that, then Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, Mr. Windsor, would be the King of England. And that would be the end of the monarchy. There's no question about that.
What about this idea that he could be compelled to give testimony to Congress? Is there any precedent for that sort of thing?
No. And I don't know what testimony he would give, quite honestly, because I think it would be a bit of theatre. But I think they're going to do it, don't you? I mean, if they got we've just been listening, the Clintons are going. I think
I shouldn't think they'll send him over. I can see him doing some kind of video link
on Zoom, video link.
Wow, yeah. I mean,
but I mean, you see, as a game will have the most appalling effect on the way the British regard their monarchy in general. Even though we know the King's done everything he can to strip this person of his titles, etc., 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 it all reflects back on the royal family in general.
For all the damage it does, how bad do things have to get before we don't have a monarchy? Because, I mean, you'd think we've got to get a good deal worse than this before people had actually finally had
Well,
enough.
I mean, yeah, if they were head out for murder or something of the kind. But the point is, you're missing out one rather key ingredient. Who would want to be the monarch with all this going on? And, there are quite strong signs that Prince William only half wants to be the monarch.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, if I were Prince George, I'd be already saying, Dad, I do not want to do this job.
Do you think then in 100 years' time, when we look back at the history of the monarchy in the 20th and 21st century, right now, this will be considered as significant as anything else?
I do, because I used to think the monarchy would go on forever somehow or another, and I no longer do.
Wow.
Okay. So the one thing that he said that I thought was a mistake was when he said that if something happens to the Wells's kids, then there would be King Andrew. Well, number one, William is younger than Andrew. So that'd be assuming that Andrew outlived him. And number two, there's Harry, Archie, and Lily. They're in line to the throne ahead of Andrew. So I don't know if that was just gross exaggeration or whatever, but there you have it. Lex says, do these people listen to themselves? They are worried more about the monarchy than the victims receiving accountability. Just because these people want God-like figures, that is. That is the part that they keep missing. And especially with an American audience, that seems to be one of the things that is so important to the monarchy, is that the American people look upon them with favor. This is the land of what do they call it? Cancel culture. This is the land of oh gosh, what is the other one that I'm looking for? But anyway, everybody knows how Americans are about those things like that. And of course, you can hardly tell considering who the president of the United States is. But we have been desensitized a lot in recent years. But because they tolerate that from him does not mean that they're going to look upon the royal family with favor if it turns out that they have been part of some cover-up. So, and of course, the other thing that they run the risk of is people talking about Louis Mountbatten, and of course, what's his name? Fix My Life. Oh gosh. You know that guy. Why is it I cannot remember his name all of a sudden? Um. Well, anyway, the guy that Charles used to be friends with. Um. Then people start bringing him up. There's so many people that over the years Charles has tolerated and been friends with. And if they ever really did a deep dive of the kind of people that he's been around, oh, Savile, thank you, Jimmy Savile. Um, there's a pattern. There is a pattern that would definitely cause a lot of people to question not only King Charles' morality, but his motivation. What motivates you, Chucky? Back in the day, I thought Fergie had a classic personality. Disappointed she went as far for money, but she got thrown to the wolves. But she was lucky. She was English and white. Meghan isn't. I think this is the last disappointment for Fergie. I don't think Fergie will ever be looked upon with favor again. Sarah Ferguson has managed to charm her way back into people's good graces over and over and over again. This is the end of the line for her. This is the end of the line. There will be no more favor for Sarah Ferguson. She's done. She is done. Her name is Mud. There's no way that Sarah Ferguson is going to come out of this looking like a reasonable person. I think people are really done with her. She's not royal by birth, so it just really doesn't matter. She can hang it up. She may as well try to. And what's really worse for her is that nobody wants her to endorse anything, not a charity, not a product, nothing. The only thing that she can do to make money is to write a tell all book. That's the only card she has left is to write a book. She can at least sell a book. She can do a talk show circuit. That's it. She has nothing else to play. Notice how this guy tried to uplift Charles by saying that we know Charles III is older. They ignore all the abuse these people inflict just to uplift the monarchy. Pathetic. Ignore the pedos. In her interview with the fake sheik, Sarah described herself as a consummate aristocrat that would always be protected. Okay, well, you know what? She was right until she wasn't, right? She was right until she wasn't. But protection is over with for her now. They have got to cut her loose. You know, Prince Philip probably knew some things about her that a lot of people did not know about her. But Prince Philip, he just did not dislike her. It wasn't that he was disappointed with her. Prince Philip acted like he wanted to harm her in some kind of way. They say whenever Prince Philip was on the way, she had to disappear. Even if she was with the Queen, she had to make a run for it because there was no way that she could exist in the same space with Prince Philip. I don't know what that was all about, but like I say, Prince Philip probably knew some things. Yeah, book sales are a thing of the past. That is true. You really have to have something monumental to make money from books. I think the best she could probably do is a talk show circuit. That's why I mentioned the talk shows, because that'll be the best way she can make some money is by going on podcasts and going on those talk shows. Other than that, I don't know what else she could do to raise money. Yep. I don't think there's any other card for her to play. Unless she got a really good advance for her book. If she got a really big advance for her book, it would be worthwhile. But who would give it to her? I just don't know that anybody would invest that kind of money in her. Yeah, I just thought about that. The best thing she could probably do is a huge advance, and that is if somebody is willing to pay it. And I think the only way that she would get something like that, it would probably be for some type of favor. It wouldn't just be about the book. It would she would have to be able to do something else. Oh, I don't think she would come after Meghan. I don't think she's stupid enough to do that. Um, as bad as things are for Fergie, the last thing she would want is for the Sussex squad to get in her business. You guys, the Sussex squad is formidable. I just want you guys to know that there are people that do not want to get on the Sussex squad bad side. There are some people who do not want that heat. Have you noticed how many times someone has said the Sussex squad was, you know, made reference to the Sussex squad when they have been called out for something? They don't remember a lot, but they do recognize the Sussex squad. And I'm glad for it. I'm really glad for it. We may not have a around the clock tabloid media machine, but there are some very smart, very bright people in the Sussex squad that there were some people who tried to hide behind their anonymity and say things and and make their little money. And I think just about all of them at some point or another has been identified. They have been called out. They have been publicly scrutinized thanks to the Sussex squad. You guys, do you think the chat is moving too fast? Or is it just a lot of comments coming in? I don't ever do anything to the speed of the chat, but I was just asking if one of you guys want to slow it down. It seemed like it's going really fast. But if you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with it. So, oh, you know what? Let me get this heckle of King Charles together. I hope I downloaded it, which I don't think I did, but hold on a second. I can fix that quickly. Yeah, but Charles was out today and he got heckled again. And it was ugly. Okay, so let me get that going for you. In the meantime, I will play this little sound bite for you.
Sounds there of it was difficult to pick up, but it sounded as though the heckler shouted, "How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?" The rest of the crowd booed after the question was asked. Our North of England correspondent Charlotte Leeming was in Clitheroe as the King arrived.
Well, the King arrived here in Clitheroe, and it wasn't long before his royal engagement, where hundreds of people were lined up to see him, was marred by a heckler. Now, the first you got a sense of this was the crowd booing. The heckler had actually said to King Charles, "How long have you known about Andrew?" So the crowd quickly booed. The majority, I'll say, of the people who were waiting patiently all morning to see the King joined in with those boos. And then the security then took that person to the side, and then the crowd cheered. Now, King Charles did not respond to that question at all. He just carried on his business, shaking hands, talking to some of the local people here, receiving gifts and flowers. But as you may remember, he was heckled also last week in Essex. So these royal visits, these royal engagements now being really hampered by questions about Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. There will be some of those who will be thinking that Buckingham Palace, the royals, need to say more, that the King needs to make more of this. He did a statement last year where he really and his sympathies with the victims of Epstein. But I think there are those, this is the sense we're getting when we're out and about at these royal engagements now, that there are people in the public who want him to say more. Anyway, as we said, he ignored that person who had heckled, continued down the line of crowds who were waiting for him, and the majority of people very excited to see the King here in the Ribble Valley. It's a place he's extremely fond of. He's been here many times over the years, and then he got into his car and will continue that visit. But you've got to be thinking what the King is then, you know, going through his mind when he gets in the car, because these visits now, he's going to be well prepared, isn't he, for people heckling and saying what they think as they urge him possibly to say more publicly.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Andrew, what's up with you, Charles?
Well, well, well. One more time.
How long have you? Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Andrew, what's up with you, Charles? Charles, how long have you and Epstein? How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you been covering up for Andrew?
Go away, man, Go away. That's enough. There's children here, right? Police officer, right? You carry on, you can be arrested for breach of the peace. Okay.
How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you been covering up for Andrew?
Go away, man, Go away. That's enough. There's children here, right? Police officer, right? You carry on, you're going to be arrested for breach of the peace. Okay.
Well, it is getting interesting, isn't it? I don't know that I've ever seen someone confront Queen Elizabeth in such a way, but this seems to be routine for these people. And it's what they deserve. It really is what they deserve. I'm glad for it because they were terrible toward Meghan. And I'm glad they're getting their desserts, their comeuppance. Let me see. Is this a oldie but goodie? Let me try this one. By the way, this is an older video. Poor Charles. All those years he waited to be king, and this is what he gets. Heckled, booed, people yelling, "Not my king." And look at how pitiful he looks. Look at that. He looks absolutely pitiful. But no one can speak to him. No one seems to be able to get him on the right track. He needs someone that he can listen to. It's not too late to fix this. That's the good thing, is that it's not too late to fix it. Start off by apologizing to your son and to your daughter-in-law, and then work your way around to all this other stuff. If he can do that, then he can solidify his reputation just in time for him to go to that storm cellar down in St. George Chapel, where he can go down there and join his mom and dad and his drunken grandmother and his grandfather, whatever his name was, just in time for that. George VI, that's it. He can straighten this out. But instead, he's trying to be stoic and resolute, and it's just not working. People do not like him. Even on Coronation Day, they arrested people, including Graham Smith, who was arrested before they can get their yellow and black placards out to protest the coronation. If he was the right kind of person, that wouldn't have happened in the first place. So people would have more sympathy for him if he was a better person, but he's not. He should not be married to Camilla. He should have kept her as a love interest, mistress, or whatever. But I can only remember how I felt watching the adulterous queen consort receive her crown, the adulterous king receive his crown. It just did not seem right. The most sacred religious institution in the country, Westminster Abbey, where all these kings have been crowned, and he brings his mistress in there and put a crown on her head. He's a pathetic individual, very pathetic. And like so many people, I'm so glad that Harry and Meghan are so far away from that. I used to feel really bad about, and I'm saying this was a long time ago, I felt really bad because I wanted to see Harry and Meghan go around the Commonwealth and do all of that stuff that they do. I wanted to see that, and I felt robbed when that was taken away. But every day, I know for certain that being driven out of the kingdom was the best thing that could have happened to them. This way, you don't even hear their name in association with any of this stuff. Every time there's a report, I keep trying to wait for them to see where they insert their names into it. And they haven't, because it has nothing to do with them. Uh-oh, I got to talk about this little spot of bother. Yikes. What a hideous, terrible dress. It's horribly fitted and makes her look a bit of a linebacker by accentuating her wide shoulders and large rib cage. Oh, that's all sorts of awful. Now, this is coming from that rat-faced broad that runs the Royal News Network. That's pathetic thing in that horrible dress had the nerves to say that about Meghan. And it just goes to show desperation, no self-awareness. All of the compliments that has filled the airwaves for days about Meghan's appearance at this event. And there was some very, very powerful people there, very well-dressed people. And yet, the one that seems to make the headlines first is Meghan. Glamorous, old Hollywood, all those things that people have said. And yet, this delusional person seems to think that her insults are somehow important at this moment. Just like that thing I shared earlier, where the person said that they can't believe the person that they have turned into. Well, this person here is making a lot of money. And I do mean she's making tons of money with her negative coverage of Meghan on a daily basis. And she's always hanging around with certain people, which includes, of course, Dan Wooten. Let's see. The resilient, stunning, and drop-dead gorgeous Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, makes women like Royal News Network, who is built like a 3-door Hilton Garden Inn Longview refrigerator. Very jealous. That's BS. That BS is pure jealousy from a very insecure woman who hates how she looks and is projecting her insecurities onto Meghan. Now, I've heard a lot, but built like a what is it? They said a 3-door Hilton Garden Inn refrigerator. I like that. Anyway, they say that this is her. This was at the Troop in the Colors. This is why I say you should really think twice about getting on the wrong side of the Sussex squad. I am certain that she could have never assumed wearing those sunglasses that she would be noticed in that crowd of people, if that is indeed her. And it does look like her. She even has a little step stool so that, like a real photographer, she can stand up, high enough to get a glimpse of things. How could she have known that somebody would spot her in the crowd? But that's the point. The Sussex squad is very resourceful, and there's more people than you could possibly imagine that are out and about and seeing things like this pathetic mess of a human being. And that reassures me. That reassures me. Because for a long time, nobody even knew what her name was. And then one of the squaddies one day said, oh, I think I found her. And believe me, she was trying desperately to, hide it. But they know all about her. They know all about her. And so she cannot hide behind, the mystery of it all. People know who she is. And that is something that people should think about. And I don't mean that in any kind of a threatening way. I'm just saying that she has been exposed. She has been exposed. And so when she makes certain moves in the future, when she perhaps try to be a legitimate news person in the future, all of these things that she has said is going to come back to haunt her. So she can never be taken serious in anything she does after this, because they know who she is. And of course, the internet is forever. So there's no escaping some of the nasty, awful things that she said and the type of people that she has facilitated. So and of course, there she is, Gums, taking a picture with Kate Middleton. Why does it seem like Kate knows who she is? Why does it seem like that? Because she probably does. Kate probably follows her. I would believe that Kate follows her. I can see that. And she probably was like, I'll be there. Well, I'll be there too. And there they are. Gums and Dum Dum. Gums and Baby Brain. So, okay. Let me take a look at some of your comments. I'm going to talk about a little aviation history coming up. So I'm going to take a look at a few things here, and then I'm going to go on to that, and that'll be the last thing I have for tonight. Let me see. Defensive linemen are spelt compared to her. Let me see. 2 photos, but I bet there is another 10 shots. Oh, I'm sure. Yes, Gums and Baby Brain. Khadijah says, but to be built like an upright refrigerator. Oh, there we go. That bleach blonde, bad built, butch body criticizing Meghan. Yes, she is. Haters gonna hate. What's that? Oh, I think they're going to try to say a lot of stuff is AI. That's the curse of AI, is that it makes people second guess, and people will dismiss things and refer to it as AI. And that is going to be a problem with more than just the Epstein files. That is going to plague us for a long time. There's no way to stop it. The AI is here to stay, and we just have to, as Harry was saying, they have to come up with some kind of safeguards to protect us from it. Because the AI is going to bend reality. AI is going to circumvent reality and cause a lot of confusion. Let's see. Isn't it amazing how Meghan brings certain occasions highlighted through her charity and philanthropy, and it works for her and the people and charity community? Yeah, as Meghan was saying with the when she said that she tries to wear clothes that can help uplift a woman-owned business or sustainable businesses and such. Meghan knows what her power is, and she uses it very wisely, and she uses it for the greater good. And by doing that, she will be able to reap whatever benefits and rewards comes along with that. So it's not so much what Meghan is doing directly for these manufacturers and designers and such. It is what she's doing indirectly, and that is casually wearing things that she may have had for 5 years, and then all of a sudden it becomes a big deal. So she's not in contact with a lot of these people. It's just by chance that she will choose to wear something, and it may be something of theirs. And, there's, as far as I know, there's like no kind of payment or anything involved with that for Meghan. But she gets the chance to help people. And of course, that's a good thing. That's a good thing to be able to do something so innocent, and yet whole communities are benefiting from it. Jobs are being added, notoriety for small business owners. It's a win-win. Yes, Meghan is strategic. She moves with purpose. Now, Khadijah, that's what I like. I sit up here and I'm hemming and hawing, searching for words. And in an instant, you said exactly what I was trying to say. So thank you for that. All right. So I'm going to go on to do my aviation stuff. And then after that, I'll be done with today. So this day in aviation history, February the 9th, 1969. First, 1 hour and 15-minute flight test flight, that is, of the prototype Boeing 747-121 FA regulation N7470, City of Everett, from Painfield, Washington. Wide-body commercial airliner cargo transport powered by four Pratt & Whitney JT9D7A high bypass ratio turbofan engines. What does that mean? That means a revolution in aviation. Look at the size of that plane. You won't believe you're on an airplane, is what the advertisement said. Before the 747, there was really the 707, and I think it was the DC-9 and some other planes like that. Oh, no, it's not the DC. Was it DC-9? Well, anyway, that's what people were flying. I mean, the jet age was only about, 15 years old, 10 years old at the time when people began flying in jets. Before that, aviation was very different. It was uncomfortable, noisy. Planes were not necessarily pressurized. Um, but thanks to Boeing and their vision to create this huge plane, the 747, aviation has never been the same. Here's another image of the plane. So there you have 3, 4, and is that 2 seats on the far side there? But anyway, most 747s is the 3-4-3 configuration. So you got 10 seats across, but I do believe this is the first class of the 747. And I'm sure they're using like a wide angle lens. But that is the 747-8 Intercontinental, the Dash 8 Intercontinental. That is the very last 747. Now, in all, only about 1,500 planes were built, which doesn't even seem right. It seemed like they made, thousands of them, but they only ever built 1,500 more or less planes. But what was so familiar about it was the big hump on the top. And the reason why they made it like that is because they didn't even think the 747 was going to be around that long. They didn't even think it was going to be around that long. They thought the future of aviation was the Concorde. Why would somebody want to fly on something like this when you can get from London to Paris in 4 hours or whatever? Why would they want to ride on the 747? But what was supposed to be a passenger plane and a cargo plane had become a huge success. It made the world that much smaller. Now, if you look right here, on the right side, that's the 707. Now, this is kind of deceptive because it makes you think that the 707 is much larger than what it appears. But this is the whole Boeing lineup: the 707, 717, 727, 737, which of course is still flying, 747, 757, which is like a pencil, very skinny plane, the 767, and then the 777. There's variations of all of these aircraft, meaning that they have become bigger and longer than the original. But over time, the 747 is the one that seemed to capture people's imagination. Now, take a look at this. If you ever wondered how many people had ever flown at one time on a single aircraft, you see this right here? Israel holds the world's record for the most airline passengers on one plane. 1,088 passengers on a 747. During the airlift of Ethiopian Jews home to Israel in 1991, one plane took off with 1,086 passengers. 2 babies were born en route, so the airplane landed in Israel with 1,088 new citizens. So that is the world's record, and it probably will hold for a long time. The only thing that could come close to that is the A380, which can seat, I believe they say, up to 860 passengers. But if they had to, in an emergency, of course, you can put so many more people. This plane was completely gutted. And so the people are literally sitting on the floor. They ripped the seats out so that they can use it, as a transport plane with as many people as possible. So that's why everything looks very crowded, because it is. Without doing that, the usual 747 at the time would carry about 400 people. So that's why the photo looks very strange. It's because of that. And by the way, the 747 has always been my favorite plane. There's the variations on the left side. The 747-400 is the one that most of us who have flown the 747, we've probably flown on the 747-400 or maybe even the 200. And down there at the bottom, you see that 747 SP. They actually shortened the fuselage of the plane so that it could have longer range. But of course, that took away a lot of the passenger room. And the VC-25, that's the 747 that's used by the United States Air Force as Air Force One. So they named the 747 the Queen of the Skies because for a long time it was the most popular and it was the biggest passenger plane and most recognized because of the 4 engines and of course the upstairs. It's not a full double decker, it's a partial double decker. And that is a 747 that I flew. The last time I flew on a 747 was back in 2018. Up there at the top, that's me at O'Hare International Airport. And down there at the bottom, that's me at London Heathrow Airport. So I took a picture before I got on the plane and I took a picture when I got off the plane. But I was so happy because I wanted to fly the 747 before they went out of service because eventually Boeing said that they were not going to make any more of them. And they have stopped production of the Queen of the Skies. Let me see, British Airways. It's always been a favorite of the British Airways. You can see how many different liveries that they've painted on the 747. And I do believe the big plane in the middle, that is the 747-400. So that's the one that I flew on. And I don't know if you've ever heard this term before, but an aviation geek. What is an aviation geek? Well, or av geek. That is someone who is a plane watcher. You see there? It says an aviation geek, commonly known or abbreviated as the av geek, is a passionate enthusiast who has a deep, often obsessive interest in aircraft, airlines, and the overall aviation industry. The term is used as a badge of pride by people who don't just fly for travel, but love the technical and historical details of flight. That would be me. And look at the size of that plane. But you know what? This is an optical illusion. Does anybody know anything about that plane? Do you know why that plane is not exactly what it seems? I mean, it is a 747. It is a Virgin Airlines 747. But does anybody know anything about that plane that would be interesting? I'll give you a second to figure it out. 4 engines, that hump, very familiar hump, or quad engine. That's what they call it, quad engine. Let me see. Maggie says McDonnell Douglas DC-9, DC-8, and DC-10. Then Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas. I know I worked for Douglas Aircraft. Then McDonnell merged with Douglas Aircraft. McDonnell had more stock than Douglas. Okay. Very interesting. Wow, that must have been exciting working for them. Well, okay, so I'll tell you what. That is not a real 747. That is an RC. Oh, Hazel, you know already. Hazel figured it out. That is an RC plane, a radio control plane. And that is Tyler Perry standing there operating that plane. Yes, that is Tyler Perry's radio control plane. Tyler Perry has a big collection of RC planes or radio control planes. And that plane was custom built by the gentleman standing next to him. He's the one that built it for Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry has some people on his payroll that operate his radio control planes. And because Tyler Perry was very concerned about the forest that surrounds his home, he had all of his planes converted from what is it, the propane or whatever they use. Now they're all battery operated. So that way, in case they crash in the woods, they won't burn them down. But yeah, that is Tyler Perry's property right there. And he has a little airstrip that he uses for his aviation hobby, which, by the way, Tyler Perry is training for a pilot's license. Very good, Hazel Jones. Yeah, so that plane is actually, I'm going to say it's probably about 20 feet long, something like that, 25 feet long. It's not as it appears. It seems like it's a full-size aircraft, but that is an optical illusion. Okay, let me continue. This is the fun part. How does the jet engine work? Well, the basic principles of a jet engine: it sucks, it squeezes, it bangs, and it blows. Now let's say that all together. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. One more time. I think you've got it. It sucks, squeeze, bangs, and blows. No, serious, it does. It sucks in the air, and then the air is compressed, right? There's a bunch of miniature blades that compresses the air. And then the explosion happens, and then it blows out the back. And that is what creates propulsion. And once that propulsion and the lift of the wings happen, the plane takes off. So if anybody asks you, how does a jet engine work? Just say suck, squeeze, bang, blow. And that's it. That's not weird, is it? Okay. Oh, I forgot about this. I made a video one day, and I'm going to share it with you. Wait, what is the name of that one? Okay, hold on. Okay, yeah, that was it. That was my little video of the 747. Love that plane. And that is the Intercontinental. So that's the biggest 747 that they ever made. You see the top part of the plane? The top of the plane is as long as the 737 was when it was first built. So you got as much room on the top deck of the 747 as the early 737. Unfortunately, no U.S. carrier has a 747. United got rid of theirs. American, Pan Am is no longer in business, and Delta. All of those American companies have gotten rid of their 747. Eventually, the 747 was no longer cost effective. They'd rather put a smaller crew on a smaller plane because of the quad engines. at the time when the 747 was built, there were not engines strong enough to carry such a large aircraft. And so, for that reason, they had to use 4 engines. Plus, they had something called ETOPS. ETOPS means that a plane could not be more than, I think, what was the rule? Could not be more than however many, I think 2 hours away from an airport if it was going to fly over the ocean. And there was a United States FAA chairman who determined the ETOPS, which meant that the airlines could not fly a twin engine plane from New York to Paris or New York to London or anywhere over the ocean. So once twin engines, or for that matter, once jet engines became more reliable, that rule was relaxed and eventually ended. So now you can fly these huge distances in a twin engine plane. But before, it had to have 3 or more engines. That's why the DC-10 and the Lockheed L-1011, that's why they had the 3 engines. They had the wing engines, and then they had the tail cone engine, because that gave them redundancy, right? So it saved money because there was only 3 engines instead of 4. But the problem is that third engine was up so high that it was a little bit too much trouble to do the repairs, and that made it a little bit unpopular because it was too high and out of the way, and it took more time to repair than the wing mounted engines. So sadly, this is the last 747. That one is a freighter, so that's why it's only got a few windows on the upper deck. That is a freighter, but that is the last 747-8 intercontinental, and it's used as a freighter, and there'll be no more 747s after this. I think it was 2019, 2023, something like that. That was the end of the 747, the end of an era. But not to worry, because 747s are going to keep flying for years to come. Most commercial aircraft are in service from anywhere from 25 to 35 years. And the freighter version, there are some of those freighter planes that are still flying after 50 years of use. So that plane that they're rolling out of the factory, that plane will probably be in use 40 years from now. The UPS, FedEx, they love the 747. And because of the freight business that they're doing, they can actually make money and make more money with those than you could with passengers, because unlike a passenger plane, it's easy to keep those full. There's always going to be demand. There's even more demand for air freight, so they don't have to worry about it. That is the very first 747. If you're wondering where is that plane today, it is in Australia, February 9th, 1969, 57 years ago today. The Boeing 747 took flight for the very first time, and that, of course, means that, after the test flight in 1969, it became a passenger plane. The first 747 prototype registered, blah, 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 rolled off the assembly line September the 30th, 1968. After several months of validation, it took flight on February 9th, 1969. The Boeing retained the aircraft for research and testing purposes until it retired to the Seattle Museum in 1995. So, oh no, that's in the Seattle Museum. There's a different plane that's in Australia, but Australia has one of the first planes too. Oh, wait a minute. I think theirs was a Qantas plane. Anyway, I'm confusing myself. But yeah, that's the first 747. It is still around, but it will probably never fly again. Also, here's a little interesting factoid for you. The very familiar letters on the side of the Air Force One. That plane is a 707. That is not a 747. It has quad engines, but it's a long range 707. And it was built for the president. In 1962, John F. Kennedy took this font for United States of America he not took, but chose, listen to me. He chose this font for the United States of America on the fuselage of Air Force One. It resembles the typeface of the early printed version of the Declaration of Independence. So John F. Kennedy himself selected that font for the Air Force One. And the colors of the Air Force One, that was approved of by Jacqueline Kennedy. Jackie O is actually the one that chose those colors. And there's Meghan on one of the Air Force Ones. There are several planes, but there's Meghan on one of them. That one is actually the 757. It's a twin engine, and it is mostly used by the vice president, but the president also uses the 757 when the airport is too small for a 747. So that plane has surely been used by both the president, the vice president, and in this case, I believe the Secretary of Defense took his entourage, the USO and everything, over to Afghanistan, and Meghan just happened to be one of the people to fly on that plane. But that plane is still around, is still in use, and again, that is the 757. And that, of course, is the 777, the 777. That is the new flagship for Boeing. It is actually larger than the 747. It will hold more passengers. It is the longest passenger plane ever created. It's longer than the 747-8, which is actually the longest right now. But when this plane goes into service, it will be technically it is now the longest one, but they're still testing it. The 777 has been around for a while, but this version is the latest. And the wing tips actually fold so that it can fit into airports. They made the wingspan much larger, right? And they use a lot of the technology from the Dreamliner. So I believe it's about an 8-foot section on each wing that bends and it raises up so that it can fit into the same airports that the current 777 flies to. And that is a first. And the plane has been in development for a long time, about 7-8 years, I think. But they say 2027 is when they're going to clear all of the testing, and then it'll go into regular production. And there's a lot of airlines that are waiting for this. But that is the biggest twin engine aircraft ever created, the largest twin engine. So that is a revolution of aviation, and that replaces the 747, unfortunately. Now, how fast can it go? The Concorde still holds the record, 1,338 miles per hour. The 747 is no sloucher. At 706 miles per hour, it is the second fastest passenger plane, followed by the Dreamliner at 690, the Airbus A380, which is funny, even though the Airbus is the largest, A380, that is the biggest passenger plane in the world, and it's also one of the fastest passenger planes in the world. And the 777 at 682 miles per hour. So the only thing that breaks the sound barrier is the Concorde, right? And it's no longer in service. But the 747 can just go beneath the sound barrier. So it is a very fast plane. And some of the fastest like fighters that the Air Force have, they struggle to keep up with it when they're following Air Force One because of how fast it is. Which brings me to a point. Like I said, the Concorde, they thought at the time, and I think about this, the Concorde was in production, development and production the same time the 747 was. And so Boeing, they thought for certain that the 747 was going to be used as a freight plane, which is why it has the hump. The only reason why they put that hump was because they thought that as a cargo plane, they could keep the cockpit and all of the avionics out of the way so that they could load the plane full of whatever. And once they realized how popular this plane was for passenger service, they said, oh, well, we'll turn the upstairs into a lounge. And so some of the early 747s actually had pianos. They had a bar upstairs. It was a big lounge. But eventually the airlines were like, you know what? We can just put more seats up there. And that's exactly what they did. So now, oh, and by the way, the 747 is the only plane where you sit in front of the pilot. Do you understand what I'm saying? You could actually sit in front of the pilot because the cockpit is behind like maybe 3 or 4 of the seats on the lower deck. So, you know, technically you get there before the pilots do. And that's the only plane that has that configuration where some of the passengers are seated ahead of the pilot. On Air Force One, that area is where the presidential bedroom is located. But yeah, anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I think I am done now. But yep, the 747, one of my favorite airplanes. Actually, my favorite airplane. The Queen of the Skies. They don't call it that for nothing. I never got a chance to fly on the 747-8. The only chance I could do that, I believe Lufthansa still has the Dash 8. KLM, I think they have one. And British Airways, I think they got rid of theirs. Maybe. I'm not sure. But I think they still have it. But yeah, I would love to fly on one of those before they go out of service. Isn't that sad? No more 747s are going to be built. Oh, all right. Well, thank you very much for that. Yeah, the 747, that was like the flagship for Qantas, wasn't it? You know, if you had an airline, you had to have a 747. I mean, if you wanted to be taken serious as an airline, you had to have a 747. That's why they call it the Queen of the Skies, because every airline wanted it. And it was very versatile. It was great for long range. You know, I think one of the odd 747s is KLM because the Netherlands have, you know, the Caribbean islands. They actually fly cargo on the same deck as passengers. So they have plenty cargo on the lower deck, right? But they also have cargo in the rear of the plane upstairs. And the reason why they do that is because, there's a lot of things that are shipped over to the islands, to the Caribbean from the Netherlands. So they needed that extra cargo space. And I believe that's the only 747 where you have the upper deck, well, not the upper deck, but the main deck that is partially passengers and partially cargo. Thank you very much, Heather Stroud, and thank you so much for your constant support of Royal Sussex. Oh, really? Oh, that's right. Playboy did have a plane, didn't they? Yes, Playboy did have a plane. Hugh Hefner. Let me see. Do I have a picture of that or not? I do not. Nope, I do not. Okay. Hugh Hefner. I remember they had the Playboy building on Michigan Avenue. On the Magnificent Mile, there was a building that had a big Playboy sign at the top. Of course, Playboy magazine started in Chicago. Well, thank you, Hazel Jones. I love aviation. Yeah, but the 747 is going to make way for the 777. The 777 has that, what is it? The Rolls Royce? No, the GE NX9, something like that. That engine you see there on that plane is as big around as a 737 fuselage. So that is the biggest jet engine ever created. And it's changing aviation as we know it. Those two engines are doing more work than the four engines on the most recent 740. It's just a revolution. The NX9 engine, I think that's what they call it. But yeah, that is a GE. The three engine makers, Pratt and Whitney, General Electric, and Rolls-Royce. Those are the three companies that have made the engines for, I guess, about all of the passenger planes for Airbus and for Boeing. Pratt and Whitney, not so much anymore, but Rolls-Royce and General Electric, those are the two big ones. Just like Airbus and Boeing, they have a duopoly, two companies that control everything. If you don't go to one, you got to go to the other. I feel so sad every time I think about it. The Queen of the Skies is gone. Well, they're not making them anymore. Now I want to go somewhere. Now I feel like taking a trip somewhere. Is there anything more liberating than taking a flight? I can't think of much. You are too kind. I wish I did. I struggle to keep up most days. But thank you very much for your kind words. Nice compliment. I guess I'm like one of those Renaissance. They call it what, a Renaissance man. I have a lot of interest in a lot of different things. A very curious mind. I'm always interested to learn how things work. Yuck. Oh, let me go back up to the top. Oh, Meghan looks so beautiful there. All right, folks. I think that does it. I think we should say goodnight. If you have any last comments, I'm looking. I'm looking. I am still like on an emotional high. The whole idea that Meghan was out there at that party and everything, and the next thing you know, we're getting all these beautiful pictures. Oh man. Shall we take another look? Why not, right? Just one look. That's all it took. Yeah, just one look. That's all it took. Ah. Oh, she looks so beautiful. And I don't know, it just seems like she and what's her name? Emma. Emma and Meghan, they're like sisters to one another. When they did when Meghan had that interview with her, I mean, it just seemed like they have known each other since they were kids. It just seems that way. And they're very different people, even though they seem so much alike, but they're very different. Their style is very different, but they both complement each other. They complement one another. All of the negative things that people say about Meghan, and yet she glows. Glowing, rising above it all. Giving the glamour, the dream. Ah, the designer. And to think that Meghan has been wearing his clothes for so long. I mean, they've been friends forever, right? And when he first opened his business, struck out on his own, Meghan was one of the early customers. And I love when Meghan wears white. Thank you, Cookies and Cream. Also, if you guys haven't watched Becoming with Michelle Obama, you really should. It was so good. Oh, and I cannot wait until Meghan makes that movie appearance. Whenever that movie comes out, I'm going to go see it just for Meghan. Oh, there's the jewels. Diamonds and onyx. The black onyx. Perfect choice. Good night, Maggie Ward. Thank you for joining us. I love her. That was interesting yesterday, wasn't it? That was very interesting. And of course, that was the night when, what was that? The 7th, right? Yeah, that was the 7th, Saturday night. Who knew that was coming? All of a sudden, here comes all these pictures. I felt like I struck gold. Are you talking about on the island, right? When they crashed into that other plane. God, that was a nightmare, wasn't it? And I didn't know about that until I was looking at some documentary. But other than that, KLM has had an unblemished, perfect record, except for that one terrible accident. And that was because they had an emergency landing on some island, right? Remember that? There's some island in the Atlantic that's like an emergency stop for commercial aircraft. So KLM and then there, whatever that other airline was, that was horrible. So, I'm trying to see how many 747s were built. I believe it was about 1,500. Oh, yeah. After 54 years of production, 1,574 were built. That's how many total 747s. 1,574. Now compare that to a Dreamliner. Dreamliners, they built 1,249. They're building them pretty fast, aren't they? I mean, the Dreamliner has only been around for what, since 2007? Yes, I'm still up. I slept all day and probably do the same thing tomorrow or today. I'm part vampire, don't you know? Yeah. Meghan is. She's just so perfect. I was said, come to Australia, Baron. It is still safe here. I want to go to Australia. I've never been there. And I wanted to go there. It was my dream to like spend like about 10 days in Australia and spend about 5 days in New Zealand. But if I do come, it'll be in the wintertime because I don't like when it's too hot. I usually prefer to go certain places in the wintertime, like every place. The first time I went to Venice, it was in January 1999. It's about 50 degrees. Perfect weather for me. 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's my weather. Yeah, but I don't know when I'll go to Australia. But I'm going to go one of these days. I know it's a long flight, isn't it? Long, long flight. I think my longest flight was either Sao Paulo, Brazil, or Tokyo, Japan. Those were the longest flights. I'm thinking Tokyo was the longest flight. And I usually sleep on the plane. I mean, I'm usually so out of it. There's been a few times when I woke up and I'm just like, oh, we took off already. Well, it's been interesting. Interesting weekend. Thank you, Meghan, for making it special. Okay, 2 hours, 59 minutes. I'm going to give it 30 seconds and I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you so much, everyone. It has been a pleasure. Thank you for trusting me to do this work. And thank you, moderators, for keeping this a safe space. Okay, good night.